welcome to the True You podcast. My name is Bill Tierney. I am a compassionate results coach. And my co-host, Dr. Martin Kettlehut, who I call Marty. A lot of people call Marty. Some people call Doc, but we're not going to say that out loud or else the cat will hear it. And we have a special guest today, Jae Geller. Is it Geller or Geller? Geller. I'm sorry. I should have asked that before I hit record. Welcome. I'm very happy to meet you and looking forward to getting to know you a little bit today on today's episode.
Well, I am so grateful for your amazing podcast. I think I've listened to every one. Is this the third name iteration?
It is. We started out with the Not So Typical Leadership Coaching podcast, and both of us didn't have mouths big enough to hold all of that, so we changed it to the Leadership Coaching podcast. And then after, I want to say 70 some episodes, I changed my other mind and thought, well, let's, and I talked to Marty about this, let's call it something that's more related to the work that we're both doing with all of our clients, which is to help them become, rediscover, recover, reclaim, and live into their true authentic selves. So this is the third episode, their third edition.
And I have so much gratitude.
Oh, thank you.
That's great. Awesome. You're welcome.
Marty, what were you going to say?
That the first iteration of the podcast, it kind of led us to, the next one. Not your typical coaching led to the True You in a very nice way. It's like we were both ready for the next, what's the next level of this conversation, or the next, deeper take on what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me read Jae's bio, and then we're going to get in some conversation here. Jae Geller is an IFS Informed Learning collaborator. Remind me to talk about what informed means, and let's see if what I think it means what you meant it to say. This will be her fourth year as a student participant in the free online course ULab, that's U-Lab, leading from the emerging future. And she'd like to let listeners know about this amazing program and community from the U-School, U-School, which is a part of the Presencing Institute. So we've got the emerging future, we've got Presencing Institute, ULab, and U-School. She will be hosting a group called a Hub on the U-School community platform to explore combining IFS, and for listeners that are just tuning in and don't know what IFS is, internal family systems, and ULab for self-led leadership, and would like to invite listeners to join that hub if they are interested. Do I understand, Jae, that is really free?
So, if I may, I'll just tell everybody a little bit about this course that I am a student of, so I do not represent them. ULab is a free online course. The ULab is the course, and it's on the MITx platform, so the MITx learning platform. And it's videos and some readings. And it's like one of those, Coursera or EDX or MITx. And so you can follow along. It's completely self-paced. That is available. Again, I'm a student, so don't quote me. You can look at their website, but it starts September 11th. And then I think they continue that availability to do the course and finish the course content. It's designed for 8 weeks, and it's sort of live with community for 8 weeks, and then you can continue it until either March or May. I think it was one of those M months. So you have a long time to actually continue it or go back over it. And that is that kind of an MOOC. I always forget what that exactly stands for, and then I make stuff up, but a massively open course, something I'm missing an O, online. Massive open online course, I think, is what MOOC stands for. So that is the program, and I can talk about what that covers. It is a little confusing because that's on the MITx learning site. It is put on by the U School. So the course is put on by the U School, which is part of the Presencing Institute, which is out of MIT in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
So it all gets a little confusing. And they all have, there's a separate website for MITx, there's a separate website for U School, and anybody listening can plug in ULab 2025 into their search engine, and the course should come up, and then you can join the course on the MITx platform. There's also this amazing global community where you can do practices, the practices that are part of it, and you can also message people. There are coaching circles, which are small groups, usually up to 6 people that can meet to do the practices together, and online, all online. And then there are also interest-based groups or language-based groups or location-based groups, but those are called hubs. And so this year, I will be hosting and co-leading a hub looking at a project of combining IFS, internal family systems, and all of the ULab.
Okay, that's a bunch. That's a bunch of information. So let me break it down a little bit.
Actually, may I make a suggestion?
Sure.
That we break it down again at the end once people have an idea what it's about.
Well, yes, but I do have a very important question to ask first. I heard you say that the course starts tomorrow. Today's September 10th.
September 11th, 2025, and it's all self-paced.
So this episode won't be released probably until maybe as early as the 18th, maybe not till the 25th. So somebody can sign up for a course that starts on the 11th and self-pace and get started from Unit 1, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
good.
And a lot of people trickle in.
And I didn't hear an answer to my question. And that question was, and it's free.
And it is free.
Okay, good. That's
free.
really important.
You can get a certificate and you can pay for the certificate of completion, but it's
Amazing.
absolutely free.
Okay, so those are the most pressing questions that were on my mind. And yes, I'm very happy to just summarize at the end. So having established that, let's go ahead and jump in. Marty, you have some ideas of where to go now?
Well, I think our listeners would, their whistle has been wet. So what is a ULab about? What is a ULab? Like what is U theory? Give us a little orientation here.
Okay, super. I had a hunch you were going to ask that.
We invited you so that we could ask it.
Exactly. So IFS, I think all of your listeners are probably familiar. I think of it as, and I know you had said you wanted to know what I meant by IFS Informed.
Yes, I do.
And I've done the online circle.
Got it.
I'm not a coach and I'm not a therapist, so I'm not doing level 1. But I've done the online circle, so I'm IFS Informed.
Got it.
And I practice it with learning collaboration, because there's a whole movement for that also, for in education and learning. So I think of the IFS as having a model that's basically that there are parts and self, and then having practices. And sort of the ones that popped to mind were the practices of unblending from your parts and the practice of unburdening the wounds and painful things that the parts carry. Now, for the ULab, there is a model, and that model is called Theory U. And anybody can look it up. It's on Wikipedia even. So you can look that up. And I don't think, I kind of have a picture of it. But that is the model, and and then there are also practices. So if I can quick run by sort of the model, if that would be helpful.
I think it would, yes.
Okay. So it's a U. If you can imagine, if you're listening, if you imagine it's a U, it's yellow, and there's sort of an arrow on the upside of the U. It goes from left to right, down, and then up. And starting on the left, there is co-initiating. So co-initiating would be finding common intent. Then coming down the U,
I'm going to interrupt just for a second, because that's a profoundly different way of beginning than a lot of theories or methods. Co-initiating it, coming together on intentions we agree on first. Imagine if Congress did that. Right? So I know that one of the things that you said before we got together today is that a question that you're interested in is what does it mean to collaboratively lead from the true you? So I think I just want to underscore this profound difference from many approaches, and let you keep going.
Thank you for that. Wow. I also, at the end, want to get some advice from you, because you have the whole philosophical and philosophy research background. And so if I can remember at the end to get some advice about how we kind of showcase what we're learning and kind of have products kind of. I'll bookmark that, because we started with co-initiating.
Okay.
Then we move on to sensing. And sensing is observe, and I have notes, sense the system from the whole. And these are all direct quotes that I took from the ULab site. So I'm not making any of this up. And if I get it wrong, it's me jumbling it. Check the site for the true.
And we could say, since you've taken that break, to say that who this does come from is a man named Otto Schwarmer.
Thank you. Thank you. This comes from Otto Schwarmer, and he has a recent book out that I just think is wonderful. It's called Presencing, and we're going to get to that next after sensing. And that's where the presencing is. So I'll move from, so we talked about sensing, which is observe and sense the system from the whole. And then presencing is the key thing. Oh, here's a little U. You can't, well, listeners sure can't see it. That's for sure. At the bottom of the U, there's like a little white circle of this bottom of this sort of yellow U. And that is presencing. And presencing, like this book, which is Otto Schwarmer and I'm probably pronouncing her name wrong, but Katrine Kaffer, and it's presencing 7 practices for transforming self, society, and business. So presencing, they describe it as connecting to the source of inspiration, and I think I wrote down, sensing, connecting to the source of inspiration, motivation, and will. And so that sort of the presencing part. And that's where Presencing Institute comes from. Then, and of course, ULab and USchool, has anybody figured out where that comes from yet? For you. Then coming up is co-creating. And that's prototype the new and explore the future by doing iterative and, by iterating and sharing learning.
I'm wondering, can I jump in?
Yeah.
So this feels like high level bullet point that doesn't have any roots to it. And I'm wondering if we can build some context and experience around it so that there's some meaning for the listener, and because many of these concepts sound really, really interesting, but I'd really like to know the story behind it and maybe some examples of it. And since you're a student of this course, I'm wondering if you can slow it down and tell us what it was like for you to go through each one of these levels and learn and experience that.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's one last level, which is evolving. So kind of instituting whatever whatever you come up with. And there are also practices. So that's sort of a snapshot of the model. And I love jumping in, and I can give you some examples. Some of the different practices are at each level. So the first level that we talked about, which was co-initiating, some of the practices are really around deep listening and some listening practices for deep listening. And then also practices around, and then with the sensing, there's more deep listening and also generative dialogue and practices for what generative dialogue is. And then there are these coaching circles where you have the opportunity to practice that.
Jae, can I ask you some, do you mind if I ask you some questions about how you got involved in this, how you discovered it, and what your motivation for doing it is?
Absolutely.
And who does it in general too? Is this for couples or corporations or townships?
Yes, townships, yes, corporations. There are a lot of people from the UN. It's very, very global. So, so my coaching circle from last year, we're all women, and from the Netherlands, Ireland, and two from South Africa, and then I'm from the United States, the Pacific Northwest.
You're a group. What brings you together besides doing this work?
It's all people who want to learn and are interested, and everybody has their own projects and experience. I was in a hub last year around regenerative education, and there was somebody who does, I'm going to get this wrong, but he was running the program for the UN for educating women. So there are all kinds of different organizations all around the globe that are doing this. Healthcare systems, businesses, education, governance. I want to say that there were like 6 different sort of topic areas. And lots of there are sustainable businesses that are very involved, and I'm blanking on the name of them.
That's great. That helped a lot. You just so we got a sense of the breadth of its usage. You can go back to Bill's question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to redirect.
Thank you. I really would like to have this drop down into the heart and into the personal. And so far, I got to tell you, all this sounds very interesting, but I'm having trouble sinking my teeth into it. I'd like to know your experience. What drew you to it? How did you find out about it? What attracted you to it? And what was your experience?
Do a lot of learning, collaboration, and things. For me, dropping it down to very personal is how can I use this? So there are these practices, and there are these processes, and there are these other things, and how can I use them in my life? And for me, since I also practice IFS, how can I practice using the sort of the journey of the you for problem solving and for creating things? I was developing, so I do learning collaboration and have been developing a math program, Understanding Advanced Math. So I had done adult education, but also young kids. I'm actually also a retired family physician, and I had done school medicine. So I'm very involved with neuroatypical and the learning disability community. I don't like those terms, but I don't have something better to quickly express it. And so this journey, so for education, using IFS in education is wonderful. Being self-led and speaking for my parts rather than from my parts. And also having kind of a process that I can do when I'm trying to develop a program or prepare something. So it's the sort of a process, I guess is the right word.
Yeah.
Which is very helpful and also can be used individually. So a lot of these, and then for me personally, I use these processes and practices with my parts. So, it's like, okay, we got a bunch of parts here. Let's co-initiate. let's all co-initiate.
That's fascinating. You're the first guest we've had that spoke that way. That's great.
What are you noticing, Marty? What are you pointing out? Spoke in what way?
To talk to all the parts and say, hey, let's all get together and co-initiate. That's
got it.
Brilliant.
And the other thing that I heard in what you shared just now is so often, and Jay, you may not know much about me yet, but I am a coach, and for years.
Done your practice group.
Oh, okay, great.
So much gratitude. You're
for the parts work practice group.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, thank you. So as a coach, so in parts work practice, you see me supporting people and just learning how to use the model. But as a coach with my coaching clients, I show people how to use the model as a secondary, I guess, strategy to support helping them to achieve what they want to achieve, to accomplish what they want to accomplish, to problem solve, to make changes, whatever they want to achieve. But that's what's unique about coaching to the IFS model. Most of us that are trained in the IFS model are there to help people heal their past. Thank you very much. But as a coach, heal your past, so what? So that what? And what I heard you just say now is, how do we use IFS to problem solve? And now you've really got my attention. So tell me more.
Yes. I'm pausing because I have parts that are just so excited with both of your expertise, with your coaching, with your group development, with the practice group that you developed, and trying to join these two models together. And it works both ways. So there's using ULab with the parts, and there's also doing ULab with large groups or with nonprofits or with my job or with government, or not that I work for the government or a business, but using with one's career or whatever in life, or even problem solving with any group of people. And so combining the two together is really, really powerful for me personally. And that's why I want to share it. And I also want to really explore it more and find out from experts in other areas how I can learn from them. Mm-hmm. So if you have any advice about that kind of thing, that would be fabulous.
Well, let me just say that as you're sharing this, I'm thinking of Brenda Ofterhar and Rochelle Miller and Sarah Severson. All three of them are trained in the IFS model. Rochelle and Brenda are IFS therapists, and Sarah is like me. She's an IFS practitioner. And they just completed, I believe they've completed it now, or it's an ongoing, they've begun training the Spokane, Washington school district in the IFS model. And from what I'm hearing from Rochelle, is that it's just such a powerful experience from her perspective as a therapist and as a trainer and as a mother of children in another school district that is so dysfunctional and broken, that she's just excited, over the moon excited that a school district would take this on, because it really challenges everybody that participates to show up vulnerably, transparently, honestly, and with full responsibility, rather than blaming and distracting and politicizing the experience. She says it's just wonderful. And I'm imagining that what you're talking about, combining IFS with another set of processes that facilitates a conversation like this, would be extremely powerful.
I find it beyond extremely, yes, exactly. And that's why I really want to make the IFS community aware of ULab. And then also on the ULab site, we are trying to invite people to learn about IFS. So coming at it from both directions.
If you haven't already done so, be sure you invite all those people at ULab to come check us out at First Work Practice, another free support service for learning about IFS.
Oh, thank you. I will very much. We haven't started yet for meetings or anything. And I am so grateful for that, because that would be absolutely fantastic. Thank you for that invitation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Ready to discover your true self? Our free live PERTS work practice sessions guide you through IFS exercises to connect you with your PERTS. Begin your journey at pertsworkpractice.com. Now back to the show.
It's also very, both models are very sort of psycho-social, philosophical, spiritual. So I would also love some advice. Although, Bill, if you think of anything more, jump in and please email me afterwards if you think of anything.
Okay, sure.
I was going to take notes of what you were saying, or ask you to put it in the chat, and then I realized I could listen to the recording of this.
Yes, you can.
I can also get email connections. As we're doing this project, which is partly a research project of how do we combine IFS and ULab, I have a science background. I'm used to science studies and learning. Marty, do you have any advice about sort of the philosophical way of thinking about learning and doing projects for something like specifically this?
I don't, not it's too broad. I don't know how to respond to that.
Okay.
But let me say this that I think is relevant. What happened in this conversation so far is typical of that dynamic. When like Bill was like, let's personalize this, let's bring this down to something concrete, specific. I think that, like I have found in my writing, my newsletter, for example, like if I'm up in the conceptual realm for too long, I lose people. And so, like, you know, that's a dynamic between, probably in every human being's head, between the philosophical part of us, right, and the utilitarian or pragmatic, or, you know, that gets things done, handles stuff in the real world. And so that there's got to be, you know, we would be nowhere without philosophy in our businesses, and we'd be nowhere in our businesses without philosophy. It goes both ways. So they just need to pay attention to each other's needs. They're like parts, right? And so that much I'm very well aware of, and I wrestle with that every day. So that much I'll say in advance of having a better understanding what you're asking.
And that's so oh, sorry, am I interrupting?
I was probably interrupting you, but I'll go ahead and finish my thoughts so I can hear the rest of what you have to say. I think what Marty just did was provided you with some really powerful advice, similar to some acknowledgement that I gave Marty earlier today. Marty sent out an email similar to an email he'd been sending out telling about a program that he's starting. But this was the first email where I saw him tell a story. And that story got me engaged like the other emails did not. And I acknowledged him for that. What I'm hearing from Marty is that he's noticing that this conversation evolved when I asked for it to get down to some context, to get personal. And suddenly now I'm engaged as you're doing that, as you're telling me about your own experience and the things that are happening. And so if the advice you're looking for is how to present this content and this material and engage people, I think that's a key. People love stories, and they love to be able to listen to that story and relate to it and know how to practically apply what it is that you're teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And having it on the level of the practices, when people already know you. I also I was noticing, Marty, what you were talking about is also very resonant with the whole sensing piece.
Mm-hmm.
So sort of from the individual sensing the system, being able to sort of sense the system from the whole. So from the whole, sensing back to the core of the system, and again, that resonates with IFS and on a very personal basis. Part of my issue when I was doing this before was I was like, deep listening, what's that? And then with the IFS, it's like, oh, it's listening from self.
Mm-hmm.
I know what that feels like.
There you go.
I know what that looks like. I couldn't grasp it. This is my 4th year doing that. I've done it for 3 years. I'm very active participating. There's always a sort of a spring semester program, and I've done that with other things. And it was when I was combining the IFS and the ULab, it's like deep listening, that's listening from self. I know what that feels like.
That's beautiful. I mean, and there's a philosophical question behind there about, because there's a philosophical point of view that there is no self. There's just all these fragments that's what the universe is made out of. So there's a philosophical presupposition here that there is some self for us to get in touch with, let's say, as a corporate team before we start a project. So that you see how the two relate intimately, but we usually just focus on one side of that or the other.
Stop it and spend some time really thinking about this. And while we're talking is not the time.
Well, I don't know. I think it's the perfect time to talk about it. And we can think about it, of course. But Marty, your example that you just gave. So you're in a corporate setting.
I'm jumping on your example. Go ahead. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But I love the example. There's a corporate setting. Yes. But what I heard you just say, and I won't be able to repeat it exactly, but something to do with a common self.
Yes.
In a corporate setting. So same word. Give me a really, especially for those that maybe are new to IFS, that are foggy on the idea of self, or maybe even skeptical about the idea of self. What would that look like in a corporate setting? Give me like a hard example of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just make it up.
No. I don't have to make it up. I'm working with a team at advisory, financial wealth management firm is what they call them nowadays. Mm-hmm. And before we started working together, they had it that I'm in ops. I do ops, and I give my results, and then I go home, and I'm in sales. That's what I do. I do sales. Thank goodness there's an ops team, and down to each department and each person, and I'm working through the Traction book by Gino Wickman, the entrepreneurial operating system with them, and it's dawning on them that they are a self with a goal in common, and then now they're deriving their own departmental goals from the common goal that it took us 3 weeks to find together what that common goal is, and now everything that they do contributes to that instead of just it's like each wheel on the car was running in a different direction, and now they're all going in the same direction.
When you use the word self here, what I'm hearing it mean is they are all parts of the whole.
That's right.
And so the way you're using this, self equals the whole.
No.
Oh,
No, the self is, it's like the old saying, the sum of the parts is not the whole, right? So
Sounds
there
good.
is something else. There's a different entity that exists, that's real, that is not just adding up all the parts. The best examples of this are in the natural world. If you just analyzed a cubic foot of soil, all the chemicals and all the animals that are in there, and then you went out and bought all those things and put them in a cubic container, you would not have soil, because there's something else that all of those ingredients become over time that is not just a list of the ingredients.
Greater than the sum of the parts, which
And
is the name of...
Or it could be less. It could be a drag on all of us that we haven't come together as oneself.
But in the example of the natural dirt, it's greater than the sum of the parts. Because if you put the sum of the parts together, it's not dirt, is what I heard.
That's right.
For me, I had been referring to that sort of soul self that's greater than the sum of the parts. But
Exactly.
since there's this new podcast called the True You Podcast, and so some people get very upset with the term soul. And so how about the True You self and the True You company or the True Us company?
Yes.
For me, just to distinguish it from the small s self, which is sort of my body unit and my unit. Anyway, just saying.
No, that's right on. Exactly. And then you could do that sort of analysis of the wholes and the parts with your body itself too, right? Right. The way it all comes together, what the body is, exceeds like a list of the organs and tissues and elements that make it up. Something bigger, right? But look, going back to your word soul, which I love, right? This team at this financial firm, they're recognizing now the soul of their organization, right? That they didn't realize it had before. Right? It was just a bunch of loose parts. And now it has a soul.
This goes back to, I think, the first point that you were making, Jay, about the process of the ULab. Tell me again, what's that very first stage or phase?
The first stage is co-initiating.
Okay. So in Traction, Gino Wickman talks about whoever is the ultimate leader, CEO, president, owner of the company or corporation or organization generates a vision and then shares it with his entire team. Correct, Marty?
That's right. Yep.
And if he enrolls or she enrolls the rest of the company or leadership team in this vision, then they begin to buy in or bulk and modify this vision until they all come into agreement about this is who we are. This is what we're doing here, and this is what we're about. This is what we're talking about right now, isn't it?
Exactly.
An agreement, say it again, Jay,
co-initiating.
Yeah.
And it's very different from what you're talking about in that the co-initiating is more common intent about the problem, I would say, or the issue. So you don't have any kind of solution until it's not like somebody has a vision and is trying to get everybody on board. It's very collaborative and it's a journey. It's very much a journey. And there are some wonderful practices, which I haven't even talked about. They have this thing called social presence in theater. And there are practices like one of them is 3D modeling, where and this is part of the sensing coming down before the presencing. And there are also stakeholder interviews. But the 3D modeling practice is when you take objects and a flat surface and you position all of the objects on the surface so that it represents the system as it is. And then you do a guided inquiry where you look at it from 4 different directions. And in each different direction, you're focusing on a different aspect of the situation. And then after that, you all sort of can, think about it or journal. And then just intuitively, if it's done in a group or if you're doing it yourself, you start moving the pieces around and just kind of use your body. So you're not in your thinking part of your brain. You're just moving the pieces around. And then at the end, you look at where the pieces that represented all of the different stakeholders and issues and things, where they're located and how they are in relationship to each other. And that's one practice called 3D modeling. And I probably didn't explain it that well, but hopefully you get the idea.
Yeah.
And then there's a very powerful practice for the presencing, which is guided inquiry with a series of questions. And you can just look up the practice without even doing the course if you want. And it's called Stepping into the Field of the Future. And so if you look at Presencing Institute, Stepping into the Field of the Future, and it's an inquiry. And then you also do, it's an inquiry, but you kind of picture where it's at now, and then picture sort of what you see for the future. And then you like physically step into it. And then you take another look to see sort of what happens next is the best way I can explain it. But and it's all very, like IFS, it's extremely experiential. And so me being on talking about it is hard to express, and why the community is so important. And the community can continue it long after the course ends. So I still am involved with somebody from a coaching clinic from my first or second year doing it. And they're in India. So
it sounds like I definitely hear your enthusiasm for this work and for the interaction between U theory and IFS. And so getting back to Bill's earlier question, I'm curious what it is about these models, as you call them, that strikes a particular chord in you. I could just see you resonating there. What is it? Why?
For anybody who's watching, I stand, I move around, I'm extremely kinesthetic. If you're listening to me, you do not realize that I'm constantly moving. And so with both of these, being able to use my body, tap into the more creative side of the brain, it again, synergistically, some of the ULEP processes help my parts to kind of relax and work together. And also the IFS helps me work on projects kind of using some of the trajectory of the U process for working on projects. So I'm involved in a lot of.
I think that's really important to underscore. I mean, to know that the deployment of these models is going to mean that you get to spend more time in the creative part of you, right? Not just shuffling papers around or following directions, but like going down and then back up the you, it's going to allow you to tap into parts of yourself that you're not used to hearing from. It's going to allow you to reshuffle the ideas that you have. There's a lot of, and I think I'm saying that's what is resonates so strongly about these models and you. Would you agree?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's very much how I see it all, and why
Good.
I'm so excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so curious,
Mm-hmm.
and it really eager to connect with other people who are interested in putting them together, to be able to see different perspectives and different, well, I do this way, and I do this with this. And so, but having the common language and the common knowledge of the models and the practices, I
Right,
think
right.
would be fun for me. Hence the invitation.
Well, it's reassuring also for, I think, for a lot of us to know, oh, there are practices. Like, I don't have to either get it or not. Like, I get to practice at something that's going to give me more capacity for handling my family as well as my work, and that these are things that I can develop if, as I maintain those practices.
Yes, exactly. And I didn't talk about case clinics. Case clinics are a core, why they have the coaching circle originally. And what you do is it's a very guided journey where one person will present a case. So something they're struggling with, or they want insight about, or it can be a group doing it for a project that they want to develop, some of your business examples. But what you do is one person presents for the case clinic, and you do it in, I think it's like an hour and 15 minutes. And there's sort of there's a very timed, you just follow the worksheet and you do the steps, and it takes you through the entire journey of the you in that period of time. So it's very helpful and very powerful. And a lot of people, Bill, getting back to your coaching applications and aspects, a lot of people use for coaching, business coaching, career coaching, and personal coaching, are using these practices and the case clinics and things like that. And then the experiential social presencing theater practices for coaching.
Jay, you may remember, if you've listened to all the episodes, Jamie Konzelman. She was out of Las Vegas, and she's an amazing marketing and sales executive now, making multi-million. She loves the deal. And one of the things that she said her father said to her was, insight without action is pretty worthless. If you don't combine insight with action, then all you've got is a little bit of a dopamine hit. I don't know if she said that or not, but that's kind of the way it is.
Said those words.
Okay. So and that's not the first time I'd ever heard that. I certainly had heard that before, but I love the way that Jamie put some color to it and really brought it to life in our conversation. But the reason I'm bringing it up right now is because someone who does that knows the model well and facilitates the IFS model for their clients very well can help them get insights in ways that nothing else will. The IFS model is just incredible for that. Anytime that as when I'm the client, a facilitator helps me to realize something about myself that I didn't know, and I get this rush of insight and some almost fascination and amazement and awe around how is it that I could go inside and learn something about me that I don't already know. How can that possibly be? So then the insight occurs, and it's like puzzle. I didn't realize I was working on a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, but apparently I was, because that piece fits just exactly right in the right spot. And now I've got this insight. Now the next question is, all right, so what do I do with that? Now that I've got this insight, that was good, that was nice. But what do I do with it? And what I hear you describing is structure, process that lends itself very well to apply these insights so that it makes a difference in someone's life.
I forgot that we were talking live, and I wanted to put you on pause so that I could take notes. And I will do that later. And that means, oh my gosh, thank you. And this is an example of generative dialogue. And this is an example of generative dialogue where the ideas are all resonating and bouncing and growing, and something new is emerging. One thing I didn't mention is that all of this ULAP stuff came out of systems thinking. So I want to say Peter Senge and Otto Scharmer were very famous for systems thinking. I think that's the right term.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And IFS is systems. IFS even has systems in the name. And so that piece of it resonates, and the whole emergent phenomenon. So emergent systems. And so what I see that has emerged today is so helpful and so powerful. And I'm really grateful for your wonderful ideas and generative dialogue. There you go.
It wasn't going to happen without you, Jay.
That's true.
But I love that you use that word emergent, because that going back to our conversation earlier about the difference between the total and the whole, just adding up the parts, right? That there's nothing emergent out of that. It's an analysis, right? But the soul of an organization or of a human being, now that's emergent. And that's why it's harder to point at too, right? It doesn't exist in the physical realm.
We do need to begin to wrap up. And so let me ask you, Jay, if someone wanted to get involved in this course, you may have mentioned it earlier, but if so, even if you did or didn't, let's go ahead and review it now. How does someone find themselves to the ULab?
So it's ULab leading from the emerging future is the full name of the course. But if you, in any search engine, well, I've only tried 3 different ones, but in a popular search engine, if you type in ULab 2025, it should bring you to the USchool site, which you will have in the course material. And then when you register for it, you go to 2 places. You create an account on the USchool platform so you can join the community. That's assuming you want to. You can also just do the MITx course. So you could also in a search engine type in MITx ULab 2025. And that
Jay, I just pulled it up. So what I have in front of me is USchool 2025 ULab leading from the emerging future. And that's where people need to go to enroll and register. And again, they need to create an account, but there's no cost unless they want to get some completion certificate, right?
The course is actually on the MITx platform. The USchool is the community, and that's the practice groups and all that. So there are also 3 tracks to the course, and they're all color-coded, so you can follow along. The first track is where you just go to the MITx site. You don't participate in the community. You do it totally self-paced, and you just have access to the videos and the readings. And that's on MITx. And that gives you access to the actual course. And that's what gives you the opportunity to get a certificate from the course.
Got it. Okay.
On the USchool platform, that you can join that without enrolling in the course. It's just not going to be meaningful at all. But there are people who did the course a couple of years ago that bounce back on, something comes up, or other people at work are doing it, or a spouse is doing it or something. And they bounce back on and rejoin the community without going back over the course.
And I see that you've already provided that website for us in the notes that we asked you for. So we'll be sure and put those in show notes. Anything else that you want our listeners to know, or before we say goodbye and say thank you for showing up and joining us today?
I want to thank all of the listeners, because it's the listeners. I always feel like I'm contributing to the podcast by listening, by liking you, by following you. And I have so much gratitude for Bill, you and Marty. This has been amazing. I really appreciate this wonderful learning experience. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you for the acknowledgement. Thank you very much. The truth is, Jay, that the reason I have this conversation with Marty every week is so that I can reserve the time with him and have these wonderful conversations. And then we get to put it out there for anybody else that might enjoy it. If we get 1 million followers and listeners, that'd be great. Who cares? Because what's really important about this is that we're having so much fun having these conversations, and maybe that's what you're valuing.
That is so much what I'm valuing, and the interpersonal and the fun and all of the self-like qualities, the clarity and curiosity and creativity and the courage for people to speak up and voice their thoughts online. I mean, on the air, even if they make mistakes, like saying online versus on the air. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. Jay, so nice to meet you. And you really wet my whistle too. And I know that I'm probably not going to get enrolled in the course just because I have already way too much. My bucket's overflowing. However, if I had some room in my schedule, I would absolutely jump all over this, because I can see that the structure and the processes and the collaboration and the community is going to be of great, great value for people that are using IFS to make substantial transformative changes in their lives.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay.
Thank you so much for being here with us.
Until next time.
Thank you both.
We appreciate who you are, that you would be listening to this podcast, and want to acknowledge all those parts of you that yearn for the experience of the true you.
If you like this episode, click like, share it with others, and be sure to subscribe. Listen again next week for the newest episode.
Check show notes for a transcript and a link to resources, including a link to let us know if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast.
Thank you for listening and going on this journey with us back to the true you.